Mark was here, Mark, when we read Mark. Yeah, there was four contractors out there. Some of the contractors, because they looked at the local activity, started with the trying to work with it. Some said they could fix it. And some said you started, but the money hit, you can get into it, you don't want to get into it, and what else we're going to do it. So the question is, but none of them, they all wanted to schedule work, which is fine. And they wanted to do engineering to make sure that the code was right and with the soil, so there was a lot of work needing to be done to see if this building was even work. But they refer to it, it could be just doing two on this, on this one. I think it's kind of for that one. So that was it. You know, you could unless until you know the structure of the building. So we're gonna have to put money.
As with any renovation, correct?
As,
So are you wanting to, if we did renovate it, would you want to get it classified as a historic building? Is that what you're
Mark,
saying?
they said that it's not even really on, it's been modified so much that.
They didn't feel like that was going to be easily done. Some of the contractors, you know, had different opinions. A couple of them said they recommended just tearing down the building and put it in place. Some of them, you know, wanted to repair it.
I think Patrick's one that said, you could have just put lipstick on the pig right now too.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I guess we could, I heard that engineering company.
right, so I mean, I don't think at this point in time to discuss renovation or tearing it down. We can't really do anything until we figure out that, if we consider talk about how we want to renovate, what we want to do, and get the engineering report back that says it needs to be tore down. So I think it's kind of premature to even make a decision until we get the engineering.
We're going to have structure engineer evaluate it and see what we'll want.
And we have an RFQ.
And did they not do that 4 years ago when you guys allocated money to renovate the building then?
I don't believe we had it fully evaluated. We had
Never
someone,
got that far.
we had someone go underneath of it, look at the foundation about if it was repaired on the front corner, but not to evaluate the structure itself.
So we're pretty much just on hold with what we did. I think it's premature to even have a discussion on anything until we find out what we're doing.
Little history, so it was Minneola Realty. Delphine owned it, and I've been after it for many years, and when we finally conquered and got it, it was in bad shape then. And then we never did anything to enhance it. We weren't good stewards of that building forever. When we first got it, had a pool and had a two-story building. That back of the code, you could do that without an elevator. So we took the pool out, filled that in, that was the first thing. Then we put a shed there for emergent, because we had a motorcycle officer there. Then we used the two-story building. Well, then we couldn't use the two-story building because the code changed and we needed an elevator. So we did that, and that got tore down here within the last year. And then we took off the cardboard off there, and we took off the back of it off there, and then it's been sitting out in the weather. But we weren't good stewards of the city since the day we took it over. We probably had it 15, 18 years.
I know, I purpose it with you, with the mayor.
Yes.
How long?
And then there was a sign shop, and, you know, but we never ever did anything with the community with it. We just kind of sat there, you know, Public Works went in there, the sign shop went in there, because all the buildings were done. And we had the city council building had asbestos and tiles in it, you know, we stored stuff in, did things, so we really didn't do much anything to any of that.
I was surprised to learn the builders all felt like that texture on the outside of the building. So usually you have to pull it off and see.
mark was, you know, using like veteran memorabilia, flags and things like that. I offered to donate some of my things to go on display there for the children and people of the community to see. It would be just a place to kind of honor local veterans. And then the back room would have to get blown out to make an ADA compatible back room, which would also serve as an issue to the bathroom situation that they were having in the library. So when we met with the developers, they talked about reversing the entrance. So what now is just the back wall, it would be the ADA entrance, and because the ground was already raised for the entrance to be ADA compliant with the library, it would just tap into the work that's already been done. And then what is the current front of the building would be like a little porch area, back area, and they would reverse it. So the intention, Veteran and Civic Center, and you know, going into the building, I very much saw how the vision could become a reality.
Yeah, it's always said that as far as the veteran.
Right.
Yeah, we've planned that for quite some time, in regards to whether leaving it to that or putting something else new. We always wanted to utilize it for that.
We had, the builders had a lot of, it was a mixed bag of opinions. But I don't think we're down to like the state structure.
Yeah. And, you know, as far as the developers, you know, I think they all agreed on the same thing as getting the structure evaluated and going in there. I don't know if you heard the same thing that I heard, but listening to them, it was like they were on a very opposite end of the spectrum. Like one would say, yeah, I would just tear the whole thing down. And other one said, no, this is viable. We just have to decide. That, you know, they were really concerned about having site plans, and more concerned about, do we want to try to restore it to its historical glory, or did we want to just honor the historical features? And I think it was like a general consensus of not spending the money because it has been so many things. We wouldn't be able to get it restored to its 100% historical intent because we wouldn't be able to get it on the registry anyway. And it would cost the city a lot less money if they just honored the historical images, and you know, kind of like try to match what would be in that time frame instead of trying to find all original or authentic of that time period. So there was definitely options that were discussed, and the builders were unfortunately not on the same page, but I think that is something that the city can utilize because there's so many different perspectives that we can do with it.
But also, I think it's ultimately going to figure out if it's viable.
Right.
So I think I talked to Mark about a list of RFQs that need to come, because we're expecting something to come through on the next meeting. We need RFQs, we need a list of them, but we need one for the engineering of this, if you have to approve it. And can we, like, this, now that Scott's here, you can answer the question. So RFQs, does Mark have to come for us for approval RFQs, or can we just blanket and say we need these RFQs, go get them? Or how does that work?
Yeah, you can do that. And by the way, there's,
Or
I've heard both of you, RFQs. RFQ is a request for qualifications. That's usually when you're trying to get like.
I can call it, but we use it as a request for quotes, so.
Yeah, well, those are just bids. You have a project, all the plans, and you just get bids and lowest bidder. What we're probably talking about
Sorry.
here, like with the Trailhead Park and those things, are requests for proposals, where you have a general idea of what you want to do, and you put it out there.
That's my kind of term, people.
Yeah, so RFP.
So, yeah.
But yes, if you want to do those, you can just tell Mark, you know, here we want to get a request for proposals, get a
He's gonna
general
give us-
parameters, and you can go with it. It'll come back to you for approval eventually anyway.
But we
I
have
think,
to,
I think obviously with touchy things, that Mark's going to want input from you, he wants to bring it forward and make sure it's what you and frankly the public wants to see.
Whatever we do, I mean, that's been sitting here, 2009 we acquired it, but end of the day, we're just going to put lipstick on a pig, and the city evaluation doesn't come through, we just be a torn down thing, and it's just like the generator. You know, we're building this beautiful facility, and we're gonna have a generator that's probably 15 years old, and it could have 2 hours on, but who cares? The bottom line is, why would you do that? Send to the auction, do it right, and be done. That project's done. Then go to the next project and do that. But don't half-ass it and have an old generator there, and then we're gonna do the building 70%. We're gonna do the building, and they say it's structurally do the
So, I'm going to interrupt, but I think that when the mayor talked about, we talked about a bunch of different things to try to get this project done. Obviously, the public's biggest concern right now is that projects aren't being complete, and I feel like I'm hearing it from both sides. I know that they hear it loud and clear, we know that the community hears it loud and clear. That's in general, we're all on the same page there. But, Eric had made a point at one of the previous meetings where, kind of doing things in phases, right? And I think that there's a lot of benefits to that, but it also adds stress to, well, is it ever gonna get done? Is it gonna be just another project? And, I know that, just for reference, I know that we are talking about just this parcel, but I wanna just reference the proposal, if that's okay. So I submitted a proposal for the entire area where the 107 building is. I'm the Eco-Root Sanctuary, so I work as a nonprofit organization, and the intention is to partner with the city to help kind of create these visionary ideas and that conservation, sustainability, and development coexist, while also working with the city timelines and things like that. Full disclosure. Back to what we were talking about here, doing it in phases is not necessarily saying, okay, well, we're just gonna put lipstick on a pig, make it work, and do this. It's about honoring parts of completion. So if getting the front side and getting everything kind of structurally sound, making sure that it's cleaned up and it becomes a work in progress, that is a completed project for that phase. And that makes it so that the library is sustainable, it's not a massive construction zone, the outside is done, to a specific set of standards, so that it gives us space to work on more things, and we're not putting lipstick on a pig, we're actually discovering what kind of animal this was to begin with, right? So just to be clear, I understand that there's been frustrations, but in order for progress to happen, we have to honor the fact that when the council's doing things in phases, that is a completed project. It's a completed phase, and that gets us closer. So let's not look at everything as the amount of things that the city hasn't or has done, and look at it as, this is the project, there's a reason why we're offering it in phases, and if you need clarity for that, we can offer that.
What I'd rather see, if you truly love the architecture of the building, is to level it and put a new building just like it, and I think at the end of the day, we'll be better off for it, because it's all new,
Right.
and then you're done.
And that's
then
not
you don't
off
have
the
to go
table.
back.
I think it comes down to a bit in a financial thing, right? If it makes sense and it's structurally sound and we can save what we can save, and it would honor timelines and get things completed, then why not, I know this is gonna sound really silly, because I'm pretty sure I'm probably the youngest person at the table, but one of the things that I noticed with the younger generation,
I'm younger.
yeah, I'm just saying, I know, let me put a little word in there, is that we grew up in a society where it's sometimes the easiest thing just to throw it away and put something new, right? How many times do we have things that could probably be saved, and our instinct is, well, let's just toss it and start new, and it's easier. Eco-Roots, and what I stand for, and what I'm always going to say when I sit at the table, is sustainability, right? If we have something and it costs less money for us to, try to figure out how to work with what's there, then why not take that option? Why continue to be part of the problem, or just throwing things away and putting all brand new? You know what I mean?
Because later on, that piece of project could end up costing you more every time you have to do something to keep it up to par.
That's if it's not done right the first time, though, with anything, right? Like, if we take the time and we're gonna invest in a project, then we invest in the project, and I think that comes down to, honoring, the conversations with the builder. And, I know you have a background in construction, and you know how these things work. If I came to you with a job, whether it's a brand new job or not, and I say, look, this is my intention, I know with the integrity that you have inside of you, you're gonna be like, well, let me make sure that this job is the best job ever, so that this way they're not coming back to me.
And I think it's Debbie that has the decision.
Okay.
But thank you anyway.
But you know what I mean, if this is the mentality that we had, then that's kind of where, that's what I was saying.
And I guess in my defense, I apologize, but in my defense, and I guess I don't want to speak for us older people, it's just that we are tired of taking things and holding on to it and putting it to the side and keep putting Band-Aids on it.
Right.
To try and save it, and at the end of the day, those Band-Aids keep
for trailhead, that could, that, you know, we could end up putting $3 million plus some trailhead on some things if they come back, when we were talking about what visuals were. For me, I was trying to, work with, Millwell Foundation, try to go for $1 million grant. I'm willing to kind of step back and kind of lift and shift and try to move some of that money instead of working at the library, moving it up to trailhead to help you, but that's something that, again, for Mark, we've got to get those hard numbers in and work diligently to try to get that. So we can work with that. If we can, the library's going to get up in the end of the summer, we're going to say, which is in the summer.
Soft opening is what they said.
Yeah, in the summer. So, you know, we could tear it down now and put grass down there probably today, or we could hold off and do phases. So at this point in time, we do phase and let's see if it's stable. If it's stable, then we can do the next phase of stable. My thought is you get something done into what you said. You can make the outside presentable and make it so it looks good, but we haven't enough of the inside of the public yet.
Exactly.
So that's two, then it kind of goes into two phases of that. If it's not buildable and it's 6 months out, then that phase is, you just tear it down, you grass it, you leave it what it is, you let the library open, and then we start back over at square one and say, okay, we're gonna build either a pavilion, I didn't realize they were expensive as they were, or do we build a house, or not a house, or do we build another structure? But those are like the decisions we have to make, and it's gonna be all pivotal on this point, but your point, once we do it, once we have to grass it, and then we're gonna put the library stage, and then it goes back to a planning stage of what do we want the building to look like, or what do we do to make the outside presentable, because we can't really change the outside of it, we have to change the patio,
Exactly.
and they said they can fix this and fix that, and then we're gonna have to decide what is the level of is it really did they say, it's really not restoration, they call it.
So, a lot of it depends on what level, so you pull some of the plastic back, get the lead paint off, you replace the trim with new trim, or you just cover over all of it with a thin layer of 4-inch sheetrock. So all those, at what level do you?
So they said that there's 3 levels to a project like this. Level 1 was getting it to usable, basic, standards. Level 2 was going a little bit deeper and honoring the historic year that it was built, but not restoring it to original, like, bare bones, what it was in its glory. And then the 3rd phase was getting it, like, to its original glory, pulling everything back, and that's where I think the mayor just stopped listening and only saw number signs when they were talking about, because there's a potential. So I think the common ground would be maybe seeing if we can shoot for level 2, right? Like
1.5.
yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. So like somewhere in there where we're like honoring the things and we're not putting lipstick on a pig, but we're actually like honoring the fact that it is a 100-year-old building, but we're not like sinking ourselves into a whole nother thing. So I think discernment is really what's going to be used here.
We did this with the schoolhouse.
Yes,
Another one.
I'm aware.
One of my friends, you get the schoolhouse. And the schoolhouse had its issues.
Yeah,
And then we had to put fire suppression in.
yeah.
And it was a gift that keep giving. If it was any other building, it should have been torn down, but it wasn't, because that was the first schoolhouse, and we really want to make sure. Matter of fact, Palm Tire, that was his residence after it was a schoolhouse. So that's why we tried to save that and do that. But it wasn't sure.
Right.
And the building, it needs attention. You always got to pay attention to it because it's so old.
It's still says.
What I'm saying, so it's kind of a maintenance thing, but we wanted to make sure we saved that. The whole concept when we did look at Minneola with Delphine is to make sure to get that property. The whole concept was get
was the conversation. So we had an outside builder come in, and he's very well known. His name is Patrick. He works in, he owns his own business where they specifically focus on restoring and remodeling historic buildings. He's done, I think 80% of the buildings, the historic buildings in downtown Claremont. He worked on Edgewater Hotel with the Winter Garden, and this is like his jam. Like, he knows how to do these. His range of restoring them is right in that 1 to 2 level that we had talked about, where we wanted to kind of stay. He focuses more like on the 2 levels at himself, but he said also that he can handle that as well. So when he was talking to us and we were hearing about the schoolhouse, the more that Patrick was asking questions to the original builder, what they were trying to do was get it to a level 3 with the schoolhouse, which is, again, because it's a historic building, they said that was like the most in-depth. And when you start pulling things apart in a building like that, you're going to find things, right? Especially when it's the integrity. This is why the order of operations was asking someone to come in, assess the stability of the building, making sure that it's in the standards of what we want to do, so that we don't deal with what was dealt with at the schoolhouse. So to your point, yes, that was a thing, and it was something that they discussed, but they explained why, and the why was because it wasn't evaluated prior to, and they were trying to do a level 3 restoration. So if we do it in this way, and the city has someone to come out and they actually check the integrity of the building, we know what we're getting into before we take a bite. Like, okay, this is an apple, it's gonna taste like an apple, you take a bite, and that's what it is. That was not a step that was taken with the schoolhouse building, which is why it became a whole, oh my goodness, we're, one thing after the other.
But the schoolhouse library is a historical.
Right.
And this one isn't.
Well, this one is because it's 102, but it doesn't have the same historical value as what the schoolhouse does. Does that make sense? So it is still considered a historical building by H. It's 102.
Not a historical.
It's not a historic, what did they say, Mark? It's not technically a historical building because the modifications were made to it.
Right.
So this is not a restoration,
No.
this is more of a repair. They did use the word repair, but they had another cool word.
I think that there's some middle ground here, because I think what I like about the presentation of the proposal is the idea behind having a community area.
Right.
A lot of veterans and your shop and your gear, so the educational portion.
Yeah.
So I think like the middle ground, to the mayor's point, if they come back and say, hey, there's no way we can do anything, I think it was brought up in the last meeting, where we can take a portion of that building, exterior wall, leave it as is, and demolish it what it was, but still have the theming of having a community area where the veterans can stay. Of course, and that's if it comes back and says, hey,
Right.
we can't do anything.
So here's the thing with that, and this was, again, we have been kind of going back and forth with these ideas for quite a week or two. I know that was originally what happened in the library, and there became a lot of issues. And I believe when we brought it up for this specific building, there was something with, if we did that, there would be a lot more steps that we would have to do in order to bring it up to code, ADA compliant. Like, it would, at that point, it would be probably best to say, okay, what can we build in its place here? So, we did think about that because we would be able to honor it. But I think it was like a joke where at that point you just kind of take a picture, we put it in the new building and say this is what it is, But these are just the steps that we're taking, right, in order to do it, in order to see if it's even possible. Because I know that everyone's saying, okay, well, let's just level it and put a new building. But what the mayor was trying to say was, so all of the wiring, the plumbing, everything is, if we do this as like I know we're not calling it a restoration, but a redo or clean it up, we don't have to pay to get all of that redone. If this is demolition, all of that has to come up. It has to get reevaluated, and then everything has to get put back in, which ends up costing a lot more money than, and that's why even when the mayor was talking about the pavilion, that was what the civic engineer told him, that if this building comes down, no matter if it's a pavilion or a building, this is the process to put it back in, and it put the price tag well over $800,000. I think it was like,
It was like 700,
yeah.
It was including engineering, but it was still a big number.
it was like yeah.
Like that was an engineering, because obviously less expensive, but it's still gonna
But
be
the
more,
process,
it's still gonna be
exactly.
more than you have. So I think the point
Yeah.
So,
It was in a movie, I think.
yeah, and they, so the point is with that is, you paused it, you made me go back and think of, okay, let's look at this. I made a call instead over, I made an assumption, you made me make a call,
Yeah.
and I got more information, and then it made me readdress the situation. So now we're at a point where we just probably need to get a call, get it just looked at, and then we can figure out what our two paths are.
Right.
Knowing that this is the first down this journey, but there's gonna be multiple other steps, and we're gonna take each step, we'll have multiple steps underneath it.
May I ask a question? You referenced that the foundation was evaluated, was it found to be sound?
So let me clarify, we had someone go in there and look at it. The primary objective was to see if it could be moved. But they did go in there and focus on the area where it's falling but call it out on the entire.
Two things, I'm not a fan of home shows. Someone who I live with loves them, and I've seen many of the home shows, they go in there and they go, they'll be fine, and all of a sudden now it's termites and all that. So
Right.
there's that issue.
Right.
The other issue is that, what do we have invested? And we try to do it right on the new library. We saved some walls and we added some walls, but in the big picture, we should have mowed it down. We should have mowed it down and start fresh, but where are we at on the number of that when it's finished?
Finance, I could,
Okay, but I'm saying, I'm sure it would have been a whole lot cheaper to mow it down and to start fresh, but we tried to save the things, and I'm not sure if it came to our advantage.
You know, and I think we both can agree, disagree on something, to agree on something. I think for this building, the way it is, I think it, what the vision is,
It would,
the foot-
it would serve.
the
Not
foot-
retrofitting it.
Yeah.
the footprint would work.
For what we're
Looking for, you know, it would be the next discussion is, do you do the kitchen or not do the kitchen, but the working space itself, I think it's, the footprint would work. It's
Right.
not, we're not trying to fit anything in, I think.
Like, we don't have to like tear, like, for what it is that we want to do, if the numbers are right and it gets evaluated, it makes sense to you, like, to make it.
Yeah, I think you could just, with it, just with the footprint that's here, knowing that we can't, the problem is if we could put just the footprint, we're probably the same level of codes that are anybody else coming in, so we'll be careful, we're gonna be very well scrutinized. I feel that people that own Genie Bottle, if you do anything to this building, they're gonna say, well, you did this, and you didn't have to do this, so we're gonna be,
Right.
and we have other older buildings, so we have to lead by example, and we have to meet all these codes, and that was why, Carol was saying, you have to go do this, because that's what our code is. Could we do it proper? Well, we should, we're doing the right thing, because we have to lead by example.
Is it appropriate to share, like, what the vision is and why I, like, what it would go through in that whole area? Would
You
it?
can give I don't know, a review to the client.
Okay,
But
I just
think
wanted to
it-
make.
I think it's better for all the council, but if you want to do it, that's fine. But, you know, some of this.
Well, these are things that you guys have already.
Wait,
and
what's?
She wants to talk about, there's 4 proposals that she has, so
a
basically.
proposal for that whole
Yes.
area. Yeah, so, and I did send a revise to the first one, made it 1 page for the mayor, and I simplified my words. And I actually included, something, I think that I aligned with a part of the vision that you wanted in the second one, which is why I revised it. So, I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to look at the second one.
I'm not sent out.
Okay, all right, so,
Yeah,
so
that's
that's the
all
one, that I wanted to talk to you, because I know the original one that I sent, it had some things that I know that you didn't like, but the second one, after going down there and spending a few days actually being in the area, I was able to refine it, and I really feel like everyone's gonna be satisfied with what I'm proposing for down there and why. And then this way it gives everybody the understanding why this building matters, you know?
And I think if we're gonna move forward to looking at the second proposal that Mark hasn't shared with us just yet, I think, we should take a look at it first and then revisit it.
Right.
Either with another workshop or.
Yeah, and that's why I said, would it be appropriate to just reference it today reverse, we're like, oh, okay, so that changed it,
So-
which is why I came up with the second proposal,
So they
because
have-
going through that
So when
area.
you come in,
changed it.
when you used to, because I asked all you, I know, Minneola, for a while, yes.
We built our house 2.5 years ago.
Okay. So they weren't there, because I've been here a while, so I'll reference like, oh, this is the way it used to be. Like where the old mayor's house used to be and stuff
But
like.
I know which house you're talking about.
Okay, so basically it's gonna come in there, and like where the mayor's house, that will be a loop around. So there'll be parking there with handicap going in the front, and then the whole back is parking. And there's 54 parking places actually gonna be on the side. Total.
And that would be the total parking for the library.
Then that's a back.
That's a total parking for that lot.
Yeah, yeah.
The
And then
other,
the front
the
end.
other pieces that we'll be discussing later, we also own property where the garage is, next to that, what's gonna happen to that?
Well, the garage is gonna fall down, that's very apparent, we know what's gonna happen there. It's on its way. The fence is way past.
So we're address that, and then, we're also planning to do some upgrades to Main Street, with some on-street parking and stuff like that. So, I think this piece of it does not impact that, this house, where the house is.
So this property that the library is building on does not require a retention pond?
Yeah, yeah.
There is one.
We have one in the back.
It's in the back.
Is that in the back by 27?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually in the front.
Well,
If
it's
you're
the
looking
front of the
27,
building.
it's in the front. It's
Okay.
next to where Genie's Bottle or the pool store used to be. There's a big hole there, and it's done. You just can't see it because it's
But
dark.
prior, when we bought that, we had the building, we had a pool, and then we had a two-story building. And the city okayed a two-story building. Even, do we need a building? Yes, we do. But it would be nice to replicate that building, move it over, and because we're gonna do this state, and have the building new, same architecture, same kind of look. And we have the footprint. The land was big enough, obviously, I had to pull another building. So, I mean, there's many things to do.
But you're not understanding the financial, like what you're saying, like literally, and I probably would have been like, a week ago, I probably would have been like, oh yeah, that's doable, but like sitting and listening to each one of them, like, you're not understanding.
Welcome to the day.
Yeah, like not,
I've done this.
No, I hear you.
I was, with the schoolhouse, I was pregnant.
Yeah.
I was going to have that finished. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter because it was historical. It was the first
like with
schoolhouse.
the idea.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying. So, I wasn't giving up. I wasn't gonna say, we're gonna stop this in the middle.
Yeah.
We're gonna go through. So that was the whole concept. So that wasn't even on the table about, oh, we're gonna do this, and no, we're gonna fix it and be done.
Right.
And it was done, and we did a great opening. And I've had a lot of projects that you just gotta like, can we do this, and do the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. So,
Right.
I mean, do we need the building? Absolutely, positively. It'd be great to have it right now. We walk in there, it's like this building. You know, everybody, it's my idea, and they say it was a church. It's not a church, it's a building. And we bought it for $2.6 million. You couldn't buy this, you couldn't build it for $2.6 million. Back then, it was a lot of money, but in retrospect, it worked. And we were in a, asbestos-ridden city hall. That the air conditioning didn't work half the time, and we had to open the doors. So, we need the building, there's no doubt. We need a place like that. And it'd be nice to take some of the insides that are special and put them into the new building.
Yeah, again, I think that what you're not understanding is if, like, the price tag to do what you're doing is gonna be almost like triple what if the building's viable. So the necessary next step would be get the building evaluated, see if
We
it's
agree with
structurally
that,
okay,
and I
right?
agree with that.
And then if the answer is yes, then we move forward, and we're looking at a price tag between 250 to possibly 450 to restore what it is versus something that you're talking about, which
So
would,
that's the
which would
scary
double.
part.
Right.
That's where it goes stupid.
I mean, it doesn't
You know what I'm
have
saying?
to.
That's where it goes, no, I'm saying that's where it goes crazy.
Yeah.
Because, we, all good intentions, but, oh my God, it went awry. And then you're in at 800, or you're in at 600.
But now what's the problem is,
But
you
we're talking
had
about
an opportunity to buy Genie's Bottle, and you lost the building, you had another space. Council was concerned that the price tag that they offered it at, so there was some concerns on the council about purchasing it at that price. money, I gotta save money, and you look back and like, I can think 4 or 5 things that they.
But I'm on the same page, we need it for sure.
Yeah,
But
And I think
get
with
the
the
valuation,
intention-
I'm just scared
yeah.
that you get to a point that, oh my God, we did all this and
It's the money.
it goes away.
Right.
And somebody said.
And
it's
Need
money.
the money.
Right, and listen, I hear the fear. I honor it, I value it, I understand that it comes from experience. Like, I'm not discrediting where it's coming from. I honor the experience that you have, I honor the experience you have, like, I get it. But, you know, I feel, and I mean, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like being in the space and the amount of experience that we had in that room. I mean, we had builders who 50 years, 40 years, 30 years experience, like coming in and, you know, raw, honest truth, and they all agreed on the same thing. This is the step, this is the thing, yes, this is all of them agreed, yes, this is something that we can do. And so I understand the fear, but I feel like if we're stepping confidently and we're following the right, like, if we were to just jump in and say, hey, build it out without getting the evaluation, that's where that fear comes up. But we're taking the necessary
Yeah,
steps.
we agree
Yeah,
that.
we agree to get the.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, like, we're still,
Okay.
yeah.
I just want to clarify that we agree that for some minutes.
Yeah. So, the point, what I'm saying is like, we're talking about this fear coming up of, oh, well, it's gonna be a money pit, but we've already
And I-
agreed to do the things so that doesn't
So
happen.
Pat's a whole lot more conservative than I am,
Mhm,
and I've written a lot of checks,
mhm.
and I make sure when I'm writing that check, that at the end of the day, I'm gonna turn a profit, because I don't do it for my house.
Right.
And again, that's the same thing, way I treat the city when I was mayor. I wanted to make sure at the end of the day, it's not my money, and I wanted to beat it
I
up
don't
as
think,
best I can.
to the point of what makes me willing to go down this other route, it is not a 1850s, 2-story colonial
Right.
house. It is a very small footprint, so if you got in there and you had some bad wiring, it's not a complex footprint.
Exactly.
So that was it, and when you move a couple walls, it's gonna be even less complex. So you've got a couple outer walls, like 4 inner walls, so I don't think the complexity is not there if something was to go
And I
awry.
think that there's only 2 walls that they actually talked about taking down, and the only reason why those 2 walls were coming down to make it ADA compliant, but everything else, like, we're not structurally doing anything, so they said because we weren't going in and blowing out a bunch of walls, the chances of us running into one of these, you know,
No, I tried to.
ish moments.
I tried to blow out a wall. and it
Yeah.
got- I did offer to blow out a wall, and it got shut down pretty quick. I'm like, please get rid of this wall.
I wish Ben Franklin slept there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think that the positive thing is that we agree that we are going to move forward with the evaluation, right? And I think at that point, if we do the workshop,
Yeah.
we'll see we'll see the results.
Go from there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that workshop is either going to be,
We need to assume, please.
well.
Well, as soon as we get the evaluation.
No,
Yeah.
The
but the
RFP,
evaluation needs to be like,
the RFP is going
We need to
out
have
at
the
the next
evaluation
meeting.
sooner than later, so
Yep.
that we can then have that.
Correct.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
the evaluation comes back and says, no way, no how, then we know, okay, we
Right.
know your workshop forward. But if we see that, okay, it is viable, we can save the right amount of money, then the next workshop should be, okay, what do we need to do?
Exactly.
To make it
Yeah.
viable?
So
Yeah.
Mark I talked to Mark today and about the RFP, and he said he was holding off on the agenda to make sure that this is what we're gonna go, but we'll have something on the next agenda.
We did for the cost.
So basically RFPs for the pickleball court, it's gonna be on there? So that's for all trailhead, and we need an RFP, what do you need to move forward on getting this engineer evaluation? Is that something that we need to approve?
Possibly not, depending on the cost, so I have to get the cost.
Oh, how do you know the cost when you don't get the proposal?
The cost of
no,
the
the cost for the
engineer.
engineer.
But I think on a safer note, Mark, I would just put something on the agenda for Tuesday and throw a number out there. That way you don't have to, if it does come in high, then you don't have to, it's just safer. And just put it on the proposal, does that feel safe?
Even though I'm not Tuesday, can you say that I'm all for it?
There's like, I'm on my ready.
Well, so you know Eric's not here and he hates this.
Complete opposite of it.
So, but to go forward, Scott and I've had this discussion, you know, we appreciate the input,
Yeah.
So but, we can continue to do this, but just because there is a part of individuals going out and seeking bids on the city's behalf. And we
Yeah.
can't say that, but I think we've had that
Yeah,
discussion.
that's not
And
it.
I know you wanna go, and I wanna go and things too.
I don't think that that's ever been a thing that I want to do, so I don't know where you got that from, but don't worry about that
But we
here.
just- we need to be careful on that piece, just so we don't.
Yeah, no,
And I don't always have to be there, council doesn't have to be there, but, basically just kind of give Mark a heads up of what you're doing.
Marvelous.
If you need to meet with somebody, if you want to meet with somebody or something like that, I think we're all fine with that. Like I know Patrick has said, well, like Ryan or that or whatever. You don't need to tell them to give it to the mayor or give it Eric Pam or anything like that. Just get with Mark and get it on.
Yep.
We're kind of good with that.
Mark should be the first up with this.
yeah, of course, and he usually has been, but now I need him to put my stuff in their drive. With all of the hundreds of other things that you do in a day, you're a Superman.
Okay.
Everybody before we leave.
Yeah, why meet it simple?
Our market's next door, please spend some money, before you go home.
Oh,
Help these little small
Mark.
businesses, these
Yeah.
kids that are trying to do stuff. I don't know, kids.
Kids aren't, no, we've been way too busy.
Listen, we have a pageant that we're doing representing Miss Minneola this weekend, so we had to X-nay on the kids market.
Is that the Rosa?
Yeah, but it's at the Rosa Plaza.
Freaking black. I don't have a black suit.
Listen, Woody, figure it out.
You,
Yeah.
Nicole, can you send me that email, that'll blow up my email?
Yeah. Yep, so, I am Miss Minneola, representing Miss Minneola in the nonprofit Eco Root Sanctuary, where the platform is, working with cities to bridge the gap between conservation and development, so being sustainability being the biggest thing. I run a nature school with kids doing this, and that's how it's funded, and so that's what we're doing on Friday, or on Saturday.
You're not just Miss Minneola, you also make a difference in this.
Yeah, thank you.
That we actually have common
I'll
ground.
give you credit. I mean, you put the up, I'm gonna maybe go make a call that up to the day before I make it. So, thank you.
So will Miss Minneola be a pig on the pond, so she lipstick a pig?
Yes, actually, Miss Minneola will be at Pig on the Pond. We're gonna be doing something with Eco Root Sanctuary. They offered us a free spot, so we'll be taking our kids out there.
Not gonna put lipstick on
Yeah, and we'll also be at the Minneola Schoolhouse Library in the summer and Nick Cooper. So we're